The following is a production of ProDubShuns.com.
Walk and roll live.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Benson along with Eric Aguilar. I'm a polio survivor, crutch user for years, and transitioned into a wheelchair user over the last 20 years or so. Eric?
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Eric Aguilar. I have cerebral palsy. I'm hard of hearing in my left ear, and I'm a walking stick user. How you doing, Doug?
I am good. How was your week? Got to start
Pretty
there.
Good. Pretty good, man. Me and my shipmates went to this boating store in Riverside called Marine Harbor. We did some recruiting, and then we did a little bit of vessel safety exams, and then for free we served burgers and hot dogs to the public.
Was this Coast Guard Auxiliary?
Yes, sir. Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Yeah, good. How about on the personal front? Anything fun?
The personal front, well, yesterday I finished my last class for the Systematic Advocacy and Leadership Academy. Next Monday at 1 o'clock on Zoom is graduation. Anybody, any friends, any family can come on virtually and congratulate me, man, including you, Doug.
I went to the IEDC meeting. Leonard was there, our guest from last week. Got a chance to talk to everybody, got a bunch of new contacts, a bunch of new people that we going to have the opportunity to have on. Did the Veterans Village like we always do. That was fun. And that was pretty much it. Kind of laid low this weekend. Had some family over and did those things. But other than that, all good. All right, so today, what do we got going on? Oh, you know what? Hang on, stand by. Nobody move. I almost forgot. We got letters, right?
Letters.
We get letters. Oh, so many letters, and it's time to share them with you.
Dun, 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 dun. So this week we get a letter and they ask this question: what steps do you take to ensure your podcast is accessible to people with different types of disabilities? Excellent question, and something I've been addressing and looking into. At this point, really not a whole lot, to tell you the truth, but we are working on that. So like for our hearing impaired, we want to have closed caption on our YouTube site, that kind of thing. But that seems to be just outside my skill set. So I'm trying to learn. I've taken a couple of runs at it, and it didn't really work out. So there's some steps maybe that I am missing. But yeah, definitely something. And then there's accessibility on the website. I've looked into that, and it's a little costly. It's like way more than we have the resources to put into it. There are some great companies that make your website very accessible, but we're not quite there yet. So we will continue and try to come up with that. But thank you for asking about it, giving us the opportunity to kind of give an update on where we are. All right. So coming up today is an interview with Tom Conoway. He's one of the hosts of the Live to Roll podcast. We've had a couple of the hosts on, of course, Sean Fluke, who kind of started the whole thing with a YouTube channel that he started doing how-to videos, things like that, and then grew it, and it's where it is now. They have a number of different shows on the channel, and it's him and Bobby Rohan and Tom Conoway are the hosts on that show. And we've been trying to get our schedules to match up and get Tom on. And finally, because we've had Sean on, we've had Bobby on, and now we're going to have Tom on. So we get the big trio all here on Walk and Roll Live. And we want to say thank you to Aguilar Professional Training for all of their support. Got a quick message from them, and we'll be right back after this.
I can't wait for this one, Doug. Woo-hoo.
Introducing Aguilar Professional Training, where we believe your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is crucial for the success and growth of your business. To reach new heights, you need to hire smart, talented individuals and empower them to work in their areas of strength and passion. At Aguilar Professional Training, we're dedicated to helping your employees become happier, more productive, and fulfilled, because when your team thrives, your business thrives. We can help your workplace work better. We offer customized workshops and one-on-one coaching to help teams and leaders build trust and have better communication. We also offer strategic planning sessions, among other services. Elevate your team with Ugyar Professional Training.
Walk and Roll Live, disability stories, heard in 30 countries around the world and in your earbuds.
And we are back. Happy to have this guy on today. We've been working on him for a while, and he finally said yes. Tell us your name and a bit more about yourself.
Sounds good. Well, I'm Tom Conoway. I'm a C6B quadriplegic, Asia B, which means I'm incomplete. Pretty complete, but kind of incomplete, and I can get more into that. But I've been paralyzed for the last 26, going on 27 years. And I'm 31 years old, so I've been paralyzed for most of my life.
Yeah, wow. And so this will be different.
Wow,
we've had stories where people get, paralyzed later in life, maybe as a young adult, maybe a teenager. But yeah, that's pretty young. So interested in hearing that story. And you make a point there that I've had the question for a while, because we hear people that describe their injuries and they'll say incomplete or complete. And I've been curious about what that is exactly.
Basically, it's just how they assess you and your level of function at your specific injury. Obviously, if you sever your spinal cord, generally, those are complete injuries, meaning there's no sensory or motor function below that particular level.
Okay.
I didn't sever my spine. I just got pretty bad whiplash from an automobile accident, and I got a contusion on the C5-6 vertebra, and the swelling caused substantial enough damage to paralyze me, and I have pretty much full loss of sensory and motor function below my level, but I do have some sensory function that isn't wouldn't be if I was like a C5 complete.
Yeah.
Meaning I can sense when my bladder's full, which is hugely important for me.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for, just because it gives me some indication and more control over my bladder management, which we all know can be difficult. I do have, it's not so much like sensory, like so much as like touch, but I do have a little bit more sensory in the way of like feelings that my body is going through and stuff, some of that function. So that's why I'm considered incomplete.
Gotcha. Well, and that's something that my whole life, people don't understand the kind of the difference between being paralyzed and having the sensory issues.
Yeah. Well, there are some quads too, or even like paraplegics, individuals with spinal cord injury. The spectrum is very wide. Like we always say, every spinal cord injury is like a fingerprint. Everyone's a little bit unique, a little bit different. There are walking quads out there that can ambulate, but maybe are more affected on the sensory side.
Yeah.
And vice versa, like full sensory, but no motor function, and everything in between. So that's where they call it, I don't know, it has something to do with something sensory. I don't know the exact acronym, but it's the Asia scale of assessment. It's like your vertebra in which your damage was done, and then Asia A, B, C, or D. A is complete, B is incomplete, and then C and D is like more incomplete, being like able to ambulate or more significant sensory stuff like that.
Yeah, because mine is post polio, so even though I'm paralyzed waist down, I have some trunk, lower trunk, but that's kind of where that transition starts, is low trunk into legs and all that, and hips. But a lot of people over the years have been surprised when they find out that I can feel. So I fully can feel everything. It's just, and I've learned that over the years too. I have my brother who played wheelchair basketball years ago, and he was coming down for a tournament, and he was coming with his friend. So I like, are you driving? No, my friend he's a quad. And at that point, I'd never, I'd never heard of ambulatory quad, So I'm like, he's driving. What? So yeah, so you learn. There's many, like you say, fingerprint. I like that. We say snowflake a lot of times, but they're all different, right? Even with the same kind of injuries.
Yeah.
So
they're all beautiful and all unique. I
don't think we mentioned it, but I wanted to make sure everybody understood that you're part of a trio. You're the last piece in getting on Walk and Roll Live here is with Live to Roll, which is the podcast that's been around for 7-8 years? Is that it? Or
the channel's been around for that long. The podcast has only been around since 2021. So 3 years now. I think we got like 3 full years under our belt for the show, the live stuff.
Yeah.
And then Sean started the channel, I think back in 2016, 2017-ish. And has been doing, there's some more like dedicated videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been great because he, I kind of have looked into, how this all started and basically just kind of doing how-to videos. And he's really grown this thing. And all of you guys have worked so hard to make what it is, something we kind of aspire to, to see what you guys have done, the different shows you have on the channel, when you go out to events and, you got this whole kind of forgive the pun maybe, but, this whole kind of rolling circus that you've got merch and we went to Abilities Expo and you guys were so gracious to give us a little space in your booth and you got fans coming up, and hanging out with you guys. It's awesome.
It is awesome. Sean is awesome. The Literal channel, what he started, just filming his life, showing how he lived independently and how he managed and dealt with a lot of what he dealt with on the day-to-day. I think it was just super valuable and super cool. It was very authentic and real and meaningful. And I don't know, some of the videos, like I even found helpful in the way of like navigating some of the topics that he was covering and did. And the way that I got involved and brought onto it, I'm just super grateful for Sean. We had talked, I was just buddies with him for a number of years. Like we lived here in the Valley together and I met him through our Northridge support group and some Triumph Foundation and some other adaptive rec stuff. We just vibed. We got along really well and we just started hanging out as friends and we became really good buddies. And we had talked about doing this kind of live thing for a while. We had talked about it for a couple of years before we actually did it. And similar with him and Bobby, like they had a separate conversation that was the same about doing kind of like a live thing on Live to Roll on his channel.
Yeah.
And here we are a couple of years later, having done it. And it's been incredible. I'm super grateful for just the opportunity to be a part of it, to be a part of the channel. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to get to meet and engage with so many amazing people. You're right. We do have a little bit of a fan base.
Mm-hmm.
We have some awesome folks just like you guys now that come and hang around most weeks. And I've just had the opportunity to meet some amazing, beautiful, incredible people, make some new friends and stuff. And that can't put a price on it. Means the world to me. I don't know that I'm an expert in anything, but it's also something that I really am passionate and impassioned to continue to do, which is try to pave a smoother path for those coming up behind, through the benefit of my lived experience and going through some of the hard stuff and learning how to navigate the waters. I'm really in belief that there's so much we can do to help improve the lives of so many individuals who live with disabilities and stuff. And I'm just, again, thankful to have a platform to be able to share and do some of that.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I'm sure Eric does too. That's kind of what you said right there from top to bottom is, the way we feel is that, we're no experts. We always say that, but, through our lived experiences, we bring a perspective that we can speak to it. We try to get people on that are maybe more knowledgeable than us and help us share that information. Maybe inspire a little bit, because there are folks, and I know you're in this community. We talk about how we get the folks on who have survived and are thriving in many ways. But then I started to think about, where are those folks that they just haven't made that transition from being injured to being okay, and then go beyond that and really start to build a life that they can really enjoy. And I worry about those folks, how do you find them? How do you help them? How do you get them? I mean, just to some degree, they have to want to help themselves. They want to have to make that move. You can't pull them along, but you certainly can encourage them and you can help them once they make that decision. But how do you feel about that?
You can bring a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
And that's part of it's on the horse, part of it's on the individual that's gone through this experience. You have to decide that you want to live and you want to do and you want to be happy. I always say, smiling is a choice, being happy is a choice, and choosing to continue on and live is a choice too. And it's not always an easy one to make, especially in the face of significant loss and a lot of pain and huge adversity, which is, navigating life with disability in a world that's not necessarily super designed or inclined for that lifestyle.
Plus, it's hard.
It's hard.
Right? It's a lot of work to live the life. And I feel fortunate that my level is, still pretty high, I guess. But yeah, there are certainly some significant challenges, and, to be more independent, there's a lot more work that you got to put into it. Right.
Well, I think just like I think about those individuals you mentioned too, the ones that haven't found it yet, the ones that are still going through this initial transition, and it can be years. It is years, that initial loss and going through this change. I was very fortunate in my adolescence to go through it as a kid. I think there's pros and cons to everything, balance everything in life. Everyone, it's like I've said that before, and people are like, "What do you mean you're lucky to be injured as a kid?" Children have a unique, interesting perspective in the world, and also an amazing ability to learn and to adapt almost unconsciously.
Yeah.
And I was a benefit of that. I also had an incredible support system, incredible love, and support from my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister. Shout out to them because they're awesome. They're the best. But I was a kid. I was going through a lot of growth and learning and change and transition. And my disability. And
you're probably talking about just the changes that any kid goes through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm tough.
Every kid learns how to write,
Yeah.
You don't really think about it though. You're just kind of doodling with a crayon, and you pick up a pencil and you're drawing on the wall, and the next thing you know, you're learning how to do it. And that was very much my experience. I was playing with crayons, and they were giving me assistive devices and stuff to hold the utensils and things like that. But I was also like a kid, just let me just pick it up and play around with it. And it helped me adapt, I think, a little bit easier than versus an adult. I've seen a lot of adults go through this relearning process. And I always think it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. The adage is true, I think, in a certain respect. Not that you can't, but the process, I think, can be a little bit harder. I've learned
because you're relearning, not necessarily learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I learned to feed myself once as a quadriplegic versus having to relearn it again as a quad after having done it one way my whole adult life. And I think that has given me, I always call myself I'm a pro quad. Not just because I've been living it, doing it for a long time, which has given me the pro status, but I adapted early on. And a lot of the skills that I've learned and used to be independent, I've been honing for the last 20 plus years.
Yeah. I when I used to get an adaptive room in a hotel, this is before I discovered roll-in showers, and they would have these bars around the bathtub.
Yeah.
And God, it used to drive me nuts because they got in my way. My whole life I'd gotten in and out of the tub my own way without any assistive devices. So when all these assistive devices, I'm having a hard time getting in here because these assistive devices, are getting in my way. So yeah, it's just, you kind of grow up learning ways to, that you need personally. Again, back to that fingerprint, there are things that just work for you that may not work for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to hear something funny too? I'm getting a new wheelchair, and so there's a process now, I guess, which is new since the last time I got a wheelchair. They call it a wheelchair clinic, but what I've kind of learned is it's like a fraud prevention measure where they have a meeting that you have to go through about 20, 30 minutes of questions and all that. And the gal asked me how I transfer, and I'm like, I just put the wheelchair next to the bed and move. Oh, you pivot, and I'm like, I'm 68 years old, been disabled my entire life, and I learned a new, it cracks me up. I learned a new term. Oh, what I've been doing all my life is a pivot. Okay, now I know. I felt like an idiot.
I've learned some things like that too. And I'm always grateful for one because I can, use proper language to relay this information to other people. Because I've described it like that too, where it's like, how do you do your transfer? Well, I kind of just shimmy. I shimmy my butt. Like I just scoot. I scoot a little bit at a time. I park next to the bed and I just start to scoot. But like the pivot, does make a lot more sense in the explanation and stuff like that. So that's another thing too. It's my whole life. Like I always introduce it now because I think it's important. I'm a C6B quadriplegic, but most of my life I was just like, I'm a C5-6. Like, whether incomplete or not, like that's just what they told me early on. I did injury in my C5-6 vertebra, and that was it. Now I'd like to be specific just because in the way of educating other people and stuff, especially now more live to roll too, just like I was saying.
Yeah, and that's the other element, to live to roll. And here is, doing our best to kind of educate, especially the non, the ABs, the able bodies, so they understand. I had somebody say the other day to me, just, when I'm out in my life, I don't see very many people that are like in a wheelchair and that kind of thing. And I think we were at one of the events, and they're everywhere. So it's such a stark contrast, It's like, we're out there.
We are out there. We're not out there enough. I kind of feel the same way. Like every time I do see someone in a wheelchair, I'm like, hey man, what's up? Yeah. Like I always like, hey, I got this camaraderie,
Yeah, instant.
I do live in Southern California, beautiful LA, and I'd say I probably see more than other more rural places or like less metropolitan places, because these are kind of hubs for individuals with disabilities. Like they really are, in the way of access to good healthcare and also just accessibility in mass. Like larger metropolitan cities are, I would say, like the best in comparison to like smaller rural areas. Just having grown up in a small town myself, like the accessibility was not top priority. And so we got a city councilman who was a paraplegic, and they were able to incentivize and bring about some more significant change. But it's like the way, just like what you mentioned, like getting wheelchairs and stuff, everything's changed so much in the last 15 or 20 years. Some of it good. I do appreciate the regulatory agency and the checks and balances of, like the process of ensuring your disability and getting you the right equipment and making sure it's going to the right people and stuff. Yeah. It's also super terrible and awful and messed up in many ways too. Yeah. Which is the kind of, I could go on and on.
Oh yeah. I hear you. I mean, I'm now closing in on 5 months, I think, from when I started the whole process to get a chair. And I've got the one I'm in, and I've got one other one that I got before this one. So I'm okay. But what if somebody really needed one now?
How many chairs have you gotten in your life?
This is my third.
Okay, wow, dang. I'm only on my fifth, and I'm 25 years in.
Wow. Well, this is about the same. I'm 22. The first one I got was 26, 7 years ago.
That's right. You ambulated for
most of my life.
Yeah. I love my wheelchair. I love my Permobile, and I'm grateful that I get a new one every 5 years.
Yeah.
I think about other individuals with disabilities all the time. Maybe a little bit too much, but I'm just really curious and how other people do it, how other people around the world do it, not just here locally. I mean, there's plenty of awesome disabled people here, and like we were just talking about, we see them out and about every once in a while, and we're very fortunate to have the community that we do, in that, like, if we don't see each other out and about, like, we congregate together in mass, and there's like really some amazing events and stuff that allow us to do that. And I've met some individuals from different countries, able-bodied people, disabled people, and I've asked them the same question. It's like, do you see disabled people out a lot? And every answer has been no. Why do you think that is? And well, it's just not really accessible. Like, the environment isn't made for individuals, so they don't have access to the tools and the equipment that allow them to get out. So they stay home.
And the infrastructure isn't really, accessible. Yeah, I had a friend that went to visit family in, I think, one of the Scandinavian countries. And I think it was her husband's cousin or something like that. A young girl, 17-ish, in a wheelchair, and just was isolated and in the house. She never went out for that reason, because she just couldn't get around in her wheelchair. And then I see other things like on Instagram and some of these, Eastern European countries where, they've got kind of wooden ramps that go from the beach right into the ocean. You transfer into the seat and it'll take you right into the water, and, all kinds of things like that. And so I get conflicting kind of ideas about what's going on over there. But I think on all told, they're coming along, but I think it's just because of how old it is over there too. They're countries, or they're cities that are hundreds of years old, twice as old as our entire country, and they just are not accessible. What are they going to do? Tear down a historic building to put a ramp in? I don't know how they achieve that.
I think there's like a lot of different ways to solve a problem.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of creative solutions that allow, especially like historic infrastructure, to remain intact, which I think is important for cultural significance, historical significance and stuff. Yeah. But also there's modern technology and modern ways of creating accessibility.
Yeah.
Whether it's a virtual tour that you pop on a headset, like walk through that way or something like that,
Yeah.
I think a lot of disabled individuals end up spending a lot of time at home with their family. That's kind of like the trope, is like your family's kind of consigned to taking care of you, and you're kind of consigned and bound to them. I'm, again, so grateful and thankful to be born in such a time where we have the technology and the tools. Like my wheelchair, I was saying, like, I love my wheelchair because it offers me so much freedom and independence. Like, without it, like, I don't know. I mean, I would be home all the time. Like, even if I was in a manual chair, like, I wouldn't have the ability to go shopping on my own, or to frequent the locales that I like to on my own regularly, take the bus.
That must be great for your mental health too.
Well, it is.
Right?
It is.
Hey, let me get your thoughts, Tom, on what you were talking about, family and all of that. Then there's there's a spectrum, let's say, of how families treat their disabled children.
Yeah.
And there's way on one end, they do everything and they're just overprotective. They hover, they're helicopters, all of that, and then maybe the other end is way too far where, there's people who abandon their kids. But,
Yeah.
but at some point in there, I feel like you have to challenge your child and have some expectations to see what their limits are, and hopefully give them the opportunity to flourish and thrive at the total extent of whatever their abilities are.
That's the way that I describe it is, you have to enable their independence.
I'm gonna write some of this down, for crying out loud. You're a philosopher.
Well, that's what my parents did for me.
Yeah.
They enabled my independence. They took care of me. Early on, I think they took care of me a lot. Like they were like Bubble Boy. Like everywhere I went, I was always with them, and they really helped take care of me. And I don't know, in some ways, like I didn't do my first independent transfer until it was like 10 years after my injury, because I always had family to pick me up and just out of my chair. Like I had an older brother who could pick me up. Like my mom and dad, and until like even as I got bigger and started to grow, like it was still something that they helped me with.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hang on a second. I once I got into high school, once I became a freshman,
Good for you.
like the world dawned on me. I was like, what's the future going to look like for Tom? My friends are talking about college and stuff. And for the first time, I had the thought, like, hang on a second. Like, am I going to be able to go to college? Like, am I going to be able to live on my own? Am I going to be able to do everything that all these guys are talking about doing? Like all my peers were excited about. And reality hit hard. Like it was a real big thing for me.
Yeah.
And one, I got kind of scared because I was like, I don't know if I can. And then two, I got real motivated to start to learn and try to do some of this stuff that I felt like I needed to be able to do to be able to live successfully independently.
Yeah.
Transferring was a big one. Cooking was a big thing too. Like being, I had this like list. I was like, I got to be able to get in and out of my chair. I have to be able to feed myself. I have to be able to get water. I have to be able to pick something up if I drop it. Like
Just
all
very
this, like,
pragmatic, right?
Yeah, just very, like exactly like my survivor skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to work on it. Now, my parents, grew up alongside a brother and sister too, and we're each a year apart, 14 and 16 months apart. So we all had chores. We all had things that we had to do. My mom was always really amazing in including me, even in the chores. Not like just one to make it feel fair that we're all doing our fair share.
Yeah.
I would fold my laundry and stuff alongside my brother and sister, stuff like that. They would often be a lot faster and do way more than me.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't matter that I would only do one or two of my outfits. And that was it. I was still there for as long as they were doing the chore. And, we were all participating in, a way. And I would ask for water. And then my mom, sometimes she would get me the water. But sometimes she'd be like, I think you can do that yourself. Like, the cups are right there. She's like, go for it. Give it a go. And she would push me and incentivize me too. And same with my brother and sister. Like, at a certain point when I was older, like, I would ask for simple things. And a lot of times they would just do them, like, without question, without thought. It was like just simple, easy. Pick me up, hand me that. But as I was kind of challenging myself to become more independent too, they would help me, like, come on, Tom, like, you got this. Like, you got this. Come on, go for yourself. Or like, at least give it a try. And if you fail, then you learn something, and then we'll help you out. And, we'll just move on. Transferring was a big thing. My first transfer one way, going from my chair to my bed, took me 45 minutes of shimmying and scooting and leaning and figuring it out. And the whole time, my mom was standing like right there in front of me, like ready to catch me, you know?
Yeah.
This
is at 10? This is 10ish?
Huh?
This is around 10ish?
I was actually a teenager. I was like 13, 14 at this point.
See, this goes back to where I was saying before, where, if you want to be independent, then it's work.
It is work.
People, I don't think, understand that you're not probably exaggerating when you say it took you 45 minutes, to do that whole thing that first time.
If anything, I'm exaggerating on like the quickness of it. Like it may have taken longer than 45 minutes. And that was just one way. That was just getting out of my chair. And this was all like time and work that I had to do, but also my parents had to do it too. Like they were sitting there with me. Like one, it was really hard for them to kind of sit back and not just help me out, but the time it took. Like, I mean, there were three of us. They both worked and, both lives took care of the house, did everything that parents do while, sitting there and taking an hour of their day at the end of the day to basically watch me transfer and make sure that I don't fall or be there to catch me if I do.
Yeah.
And, I am beyond appreciative of them. I mean,
but that's time they get back. If you can accomplish that, they'll never have to transfer you again. They'll get all that.
I just waited until I was a teenager before I started doing it.
Yeah.
I was a little late in the game, but I mean, you're right. I mean, that was a big part of my goal. And one of the reasons I was working so hard is because it was time and work that they sacrificed me that I did want to give them back. Like I wanted to move out like every, adult does and not have to rely on my parents to, take care of me for the rest of my life. Because
I went through the same thing, Tom. Went through the same thing. You get to that point where, am I going to be able to get a job? What jobs can I get? I can't do that. My passion was like motorsports and, I had thoughts of maybe being a mechanic. Well, I can't be lifting heads and, blocks and all, because that's out, so you have to go through all those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my big motivators is I wanted to like date. I wanted to like relationship and stuff. And I couldn't like envision it or imagine it while I was like living at home with my parents, like, in that environment that I was in. Yeah. And I was like, all right, Tom, you got to get out of here, bro. You got to get some freedom for yourself. And it was for all those reasons and even more that I pushed myself. And I have been living successfully independently for the last 11 years.
Congratulations. Very nice.
And it's been,
man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's crazy amount of work. It's still like a learning curve.
Oh,
even this day, never stops me.
Never stops.
But,
I'm a couple of years older than you. I'll tell you, it never stops.
Yeah.
I stay open-minded because there's guys like you that I learn from. And I'm the old guy. I got a thing or two to teach, no. You young guys have taught me a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I've learned from people younger than me. I've learned from people older than me. I'm open-minded to learn from anybody and everybody because I think everyone has something to offer and something to teach. That's for sure. Yeah. My base skills are pretty solid. Like I can hop out of my chair real quick now. Just give me a minute or two and I can be in and out of my chair out of direction. I can pick stuff up real easy. I can feed myself very successfully. And, like my checklist is like, I'm real good at all those things.
Good.
Living independently is much more nuanced than just getting in and out of your chair and feeding yourself. But I'm just, again, really grateful for the function that I have and my ability to do what I do. When I did move out, my mom and dad, my fam helped me set up my environment very effectively.
Yeah.
So I love my little space, my little spot. It's not a lot. It's not huge, but I operate super, super well in my environment. Like I can do anything and everything that anybody can do in their apartment, in this apartment. And yeah, I worked real hard to attain that, but
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful for the skills and all the work and the effort and the
Yeah.
time and the pain
And the
the blood,
support,
sweat,
I'm
and
sure.
tears. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the continued support too. I still live not with my family, but within a few hours of my family.
Mhm.
And particularly like my sister, she lives about 45 minutes away here in LA. And we hang out, we cook together, we meal prep, do like a laundry day sometimes. I I would not be here. I would not be doing what I'm doing without the love and the support of a couple of key individuals. Um, and yeah, I'm forever grateful for them and everything I do. The reason I work as hard as I do everything that I do, it's kind of partly for them.
Yeah.
I want them to be proud of me, and I don't want all this work and all this love to um, not just be for nothing, because it's not for nothing, you know. But I want it to be for something more. I want to, use this opportunity that I have here, this unique thing that I'm doing to. I want to do something with it, whether it's inspire other individuals to go out and live independently and do their thing, whether it's trying to make more awareness and make this process easier to attain for more individuals, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's uniquely human. We want to know that our life mattered. So if you can touch others and bring them hope and lift them up and help them, that is going to achieve that. I like it. We didn't get into the specifics, but what age were you injured?
I was 4 years old, August 29th, 1997.
Yeah, so all of your memories are really being disabled, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
I got a couple of vague ones of like being in preschool, little school, and just like being out in the playground and stuff. But there's all kind of just like more impressions than actual memories. A lot of I'd say like, not a lot of my first memories are really like very clear, distinct memories are in the hospital. Waking up with a trach and my jaw wired shut. I broke my mandible in half.
Wow.
So first 3 months of my injury, I was on a feeding tube, a ventilator, and my jaw was wired shut. So I couldn't talk or anything. I was just kind of a sponge, absorbing it all, soaking it all up.
Yeah, and healing, during that process, your body just needs to rest.
Yeah. They were making sure that I was okay.
Yeah.
They put me on a vent because they weren't sure of my ability to respirate and stuff. Thankfully, I was able to get off the vent.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very thankful and grateful for that. I was able to get the wires out of my mouth so that I could talk and talk to my family, talk to my people, and my therapist and my doctors and everything. But I remember that was a lot. The first couple months, I was kind of just like laying there, like my eyes open, just like everyone was talking at me, like I wasn't able to talk back at anybody, and it was interesting, scary, very intense. My mom and dad are the best. I can't even imagine what they went through. Like still, as an adult, I've gained a little bit better perspective, but I wasn't their only kid. I wasn't the only kid in the accident. My brother and sister were fine. My brother had a couple stitches on his chin. I was the only serious injury, but we were still 3, 4, and 5 years old at the time. Just the stress of that situation. I was in the hospital for 6 months at Oakland Children's, and my mom would stay during the week and my dad would take the weekends, and they would trade off with the other kids and my brother and sister. And they would stay at the Ronald McDonald family home outside of the hospital sometimes too. which is just like exactly what it sounds like, a family home that was outside of the hospital for family members, an extended family to come and visit and stay for people at the children's hospital. And most of the memories I have in there are awesome ones, like really good ones. Like my dad bringing like hot dogs in a hot plate and chili and American cheese, and we make like chili cheese dogs on the weekends.
Yeah, you get tired of that hospital food, huh?
Yeah. My mom and I, like, we'd watch movies in the hospital room, and she'd make popcorn. And we'd have popcorn fights and stuff. And I remember this one time we throwing popcorn all over the room at each other, and the maintenance person comes to like take the trash and clean up, and just looks at us, shakes their head, and walks away.
Yeah, what the hell's going on here?
My mom was like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." Just stuff like that. I remember one time my dad was making popcorn and he left it in the microwave too long and it caught on fire.
Oh,
He didn't know what to do. He was in the hospital. He like throws it into the toilet, but the smoke's coming out. They had to call the whole fire department and everything. And so there were a lot of bright moments. I remember dressing up for Halloween as Hercules and stuff like that.
yeah.
Those are most of my memories, and in the midst of all the rehab and the recovery.
It's amazing how many similar type memories we have. You bring up your folks bringing the food to you. I can remember being in the hospital. This is post polio when we had surgeries along the way to kind of help us with some of the things that were left with our paralysis. And my brother and I would both go in a lot of times. But yeah, I can remember them bringing, like a hamburger or something and just savoring that because it was so much better than the bland hospital food. And my brother and I, we would be racing down the halls, in our wheelchairs because we'd have surgery and big casts on our legs. So we'd be in wheelchairs for the whole summer. They would do that so we wouldn't miss any school. And, we'd be flying down the halls and a nurse would walk out of her room and we'd practically knock her down. Yeah, we were crazy.
Me and my brother, we got these web shooters. They were silly string web shooters, like for like Spider-Man. You like strap to your wrist. And we got them and we were outside it was just like an outside area of the hospital. There's like trees and benches where people go to smoke and stuff, right? Like outside the hospital. It's like an outdoor break area. And we covered the benches and the trees in silly string. And I remember like it was so much fun, but then we got in trouble by the hospital because we kind of vandalized.
kind of vandalized
it. But,
oops.
But those are like important healing moments too.
Yeah.
That was like a really important part of my healing process was having those times and those moments and those memories. They were super important.
So when did you discover gaming? I know you're a big gamer.
Not too long after my injury. The Game Boy Color came out in 97 as well. And I think it was Christmas that year. No, it had to have been 98. It had to have been the next year because I had been home for a while. I'd like done kindergarten and was like full on into school and stuff. But my dad bought a Game Boy Color for me and for my brother. It was like a Costco deal. Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red. I got Pokemon Blue. And that was it. That was all I needed. I was hooked day one.
Hooked for life.
Playing on my little handheld Pokemon game. I'd like put a pillow on my lap and I would set the Game Boy on the pillow and I kind of position my hands on top of it. And the buttons were pretty simple, like the button scheme. There was just a couple buttons and I practiced and I played and I got good. Just because it was like a activity I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I was like a gamer from day one, but I was playing alongside my brother. And me and Nick, we were like thick as thieves. We shared a room. We did everything together. But there was also that like kind of competitive nature to like your brother, whether it's like catching catching the best Pokemon or having the higher level or whatever it was. That was it for a year or two. And then we got a Nintendo 64 and we graduated to a new controller and a console, a new gaming system. And this had multiplayer, so we could actually play against each other instead of just kind of playing on our own little unit. And then things really changed. One, I had to learn how to play on a controller that had like analog sticks now, meaning like a joystick, and it had buttons on the back and buttons on the bottom. And I was like, oh man, how the heck am I going to do this? But I was determined, and it didn't take me too long to learn and finagle it. And you even get competitive with Nick. I would suck a lot of the times. And we would even play together where I would play until I encountered a part where I couldn't do it because it was kind of hard, like, physically for me to do the buttons. And I'd be like, all right, Nick, I need your help. And I'd hand the controller to him. He'd do the difficult part. And then he'd give it back to me. And we would do stuff like that. But then we got Super Smash Brothers and we got Madden 99. And it was like, ooh, now we're playing against each other. And that was a lot of fun too. I was able to get good enough to be competitive, just because I've always been kind of competitive my whole life.
Yeah.
But we just had a ton of fun playing against each other, playing with each other, and yeah, that's just kind of been my whole life.
So you must have seen a lot of innovations in gaming as far as accessibility along the way over the years.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny. My whole life, I never heard the word accessibility associated with gaming until a couple of years ago. Like until I had moved out, and I've met in a couple other quads. And see, growing up, I just didn't really know anybody else in wheelchairs. I lived in a very small town, and when I did move out and kind of met the community down here, I met some other quads who were gamers too, and then it kind of presented the question. I'm like, hang on, can other quadriplegics even game? Are there other quads that can game? I mean, obviously there must be, but I just had never met anybody, especially that maybe did it a little bit differently than me. Mm-hmm. Until I met somebody that used a quad stick and used an adaptive controller and used peripherals to control their controller and stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's super cool. That's crazy. And I've always been a techie guy. I've had computers forever and video games forever, but I always just assumed there was only one way to do it, and that was the way that I figured it out.
I get that. I get that. Yeah.
Because that was just kind of my mentality, mm-hmm. I tackled it like anything else. I was like, okay, learning how to type is a big thing for me.
I think a lot of people do that, Tom. I think a lot of people, disabled individuals, they do the adapting to the world. It's just kind of comes along with the territory, right?
Totally.
Yeah, we get very good at problem solving.
It is very exciting to see this transition and change of awareness surrounding accessibility, particularly when it comes to developing and engineering technology and tools. A lot of companies are taking it into consideration during the development process. So they're designing accessibility, one, into the software, which there's a ton of accessibility shortcuts and cool tricks and ways to utilize software to make a system more accessible, but also making the way that you interact with it accessible, whether it's a controller or a mouse and a keyboard or a trackpad or something more custom, or even enabling the system to utilize peripherals, which is third-party tools and third-party accessories to control and interact with the system. Xbox and PlayStation, they each have their own controllers, and the Xbox controller only works for Xboxes. You can't use that for a PlayStation controller. But what if the Xbox controller is more accessible for somebody, but they want to play a PlayStation game? It's all the same buttons. It's just mapped a little bit differently. I love when companies are open and willing to open their systems up to everything and anything, because that's true accessibility.
Yeah. I know a few years ago I was at Abilities Expo and came across one of the big ones. It was either Xbox or one of the others, and I just thought they were there, just as another place to kind of share their wares, But no, I got to talking to the representative, and yeah, they were all about accessibility. Was showing all they were. I think at the time they had something new that they hadn't released to the market yet, and they came to Ability Expo to kind of let people try it and see how it worked in the real world with real people, and with a large number of them. So yeah, they are all on board. That's awesome.
I remember when PlayStation was there, and that was like a couple years before they just announced their new accessible controller for PlayStation, and that was a big part of it, is engaging with the community to get some meaningful feedback as to, like they weren't trying to make something accessible for one kind of disability. They were trying to make it accessible for every kind of disability, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Xbox, Microsoft is really great. I always encourage everyone now, like, if you can afford it, so usually a little bit more expensive, and there's a little bit more of a learning curve, but get yourself a PC, because they're infinitely customizable. You can use software to remap any button to anything that you can use to interact with it. But it's like the ultimate accessibility machine, because every third-party controller, every third-party thing that's used for accessibility works through that system. Whereas like an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, they're more closed systems. There are peripherals and accessibility you can utilize, but it's likely won't work for everybody still.
We've talked about your hosting on Live to Roll on the podcast, which is going to be on probably about the time we're launching this episode. You'll be doing your show live, but you also do a podcast on gaming. So I know you guys get on there to have fun, but do you help people and you give advice and just kind of tips that you were just giving?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really call it a podcast. I just call it a gaming show.
Gotcha.
I'm not showing up with the topic every week. I'm there to just stream. Like streaming gaming is a very popular thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a whole dedicated platform just for that, Twitch. It's just for game streaming.
Gotcha.
And thousands of people do it, and hundreds of thousands, millions of people watch. I've watched a couple other disabled people play on there. One, because I've just always been fascinated. I'm like, how the heck do these other people do it?
Yeah.
And turns out a bunch of different ways. I obviously love gaming. It's a big passion of mine. It's one of my favorite hobbies. I game all the time on my own with my friends, able-bodied friends, and just on my own. I wanted to make a space on Live to Roll that I could use to hopefully connect with other people who do gaming.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. I do try my best to help if somebody's asking questions or just trying to learn how to do it for the first time. Do my best with whatever knowledge and expertise I have to educate and offer whatever insight I have to getting into it and learning it. I have friends who come on and join the show that have taught me a lot about adaptive gaming. While I do know a lot and have some custom setup on my particular system, I use a regular controller because that's what I grew up learning on.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like what you said, Doug. There was no adaptive controller or even accessibility in the way of like accessories or anything when I first started gaming. So I learned to do it the hard way without any accessories or accessibility tools or anything like that. So that's still what I use now. Like I just use a regular Xbox controller. I can use a Switch controller. I can use a PlayStation controller. Heck, I can even use my mouse and keyboard to a certain extent. I'd say that's probably the hardest for me.
Mm-hmm.
But once I can remap the buttons and the keys to stuff that is more functional for me, then I'm good.
Okay.
But the gaming show is really just meant to be a space to connect other gamers I call it the Quad Squad. We and a bunch of other quads. We all get on and play Fortnite together. I try to play like free games that are free and accessible for anybody anywhere in the world, as long as you have access to the system. It's free to play, free to join, and we do now have some people from different parts of the world that join us and game with us. We have an awesome Discord that, which is just a chat group that allows us to stay connected offline. So we all talk and hang out and game together when we're not streaming. But I try to stream at least once a week to, one, meet other people, show that it's possible to game. And we have had a few people join, see me gaming and be like, hey, I'm interested in trying that. And they have since and have started practicing and getting into gaming and stuff. And that to me is that's priceless. Like, that's why I'm doing it. That's like, I'm just doing it to connect with others. It's not for entirely selfless reasons, because I do learn from a lot of the people that join and are gamers too, and teach me and educate me. But that's what it's all about, is educating and supporting.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So that is one of my main goals, is to help educate and encourage other individuals to try gaming. Part of it's just to game and have fun with my friends, which I really enjoy doing.
Well, on that note, I wanted to ask you, you had said earlier that you weren't somebody that was really kind of, I guess, immersed in the accessibility community, but you've certainly come a long way since then. So you kind of explained it there a bit, but with your role with Live to Roll and the weekly podcast that you guys do, which it seems like there's no topic that you guys, won't cover, as it relates to the disability community. But how do you now use that platform, your gaming platform, and just being out and part of support groups, all of those things? How do you feel you use that to advocate and help out individuals with disabilities?
Well, I always say I get as much out of it as I give. Like, it really, being part of Live to Roll and getting to talk with so many cool people and meet so many cool people and just engage with the community, it feeds my soul. It refills me. It's, even when I'm feeling down and funky and having a hard day, I can hop on Live to Roll and hang out with some cool, loving, supportive people and feel 1,000% better afterwards. People are unique. I don't know what it is about my lived experience growing up and the love and the support that I got from so many awesome people, but I want to be that for other people. I talked about this earlier. Like, it's just one of my big passions in life, and trying to help others go through this easier for the first time. If I can be of some benefit to that, then that's a big passion of mine. So I use Live to Roll, one, to feed my soul, feel better, feel good. And I also use it as a platform to try to share my lived experience, share my expertise in some areas, not so much expertise in other areas, but my experience in those areas. And I'm just super grateful for the opportunity to share that every week and be on this platform that does have so much scope. I mean, Sean had the majority of his following before I was ever even a part of Live to Roll. But I am very just thankful to have a platform that has a viewership and just be able to kind of join in the fun. I know it's a ton of work. I've been a part of some of that work, doing some of the shows and the traveling and being on every week, more than once a week, most weeks. and it's certainly taken some effort and some work. But Sean and Leah, well, particularly Sean, I mean, Sean's been doing this for years and years and years, just set and built such an incredible foundation. I'm just really feel lucky to be his buddy and to be brought on board to be a part of it.
I agree. I'm so glad that I ran into you guys. We were at the Abilities Expo, not the Abilities Expo, but the Disability Fair in Ontario. That's where I met Sean and Luis, I think, and Robert, I think, were there. But so it's been great. You know, he's kind of helped me see the way a little bit. You know, one last thing that I wanted to ask you about too was just, we talked a little bit about maybe those folks that haven't made that transition. They're still kind of struggling with the new life that has been thrust upon them. You have any advice, anything from your experience that maybe you could help give some hope and motivation for their recovery?
Come and hang out with us at Live to Roll. There have been a lot of individuals that have explained that exact circumstance. Like, hey, newly injured, going through this for the first time, kind of struggling. Feel like I'm hitting a lot of walls. Outside of Live to Roll, outside of coming and joining us there, that's a big question, Doug. I feel like I could talk for an hour.
Yeah.
Some general advice I give to these individuals.
I think that was a good first answer. You know, really, and whether it be Live to Roll or you know, the Triumph Foundation, CAF, Angel City, you know, find yourself an organization like that.
Community.
Yeah.
Find your community.
Find your community.
I'd say that's a big one. You don't even have to necessarily leave your home nowadays to do that, thanks to technology and the beauty of computers and phones and smartphones. I know a lot of people who have connected and become friends just through online. Heck, I've made some friends. I have some friends that I've only ever met or interacted with online. Some more local to me, some in different parts of the world. And we're full-on friends now. And I call them and text them and lean on them for, you know, friend things. And like, we're full-on buddies as a result of connecting through an online space. And the value of that is, it's hard to even articulate. It's one of the most valuable things, one of the things I cherish most, is connecting and interacting with other cool people. One, because something about it just makes me feel good, feel better when I'm feeling down, but also the inspiration. I've been inspired to push myself to learn a lot of things and do a lot of things that I wouldn't have otherwise done because of the people that I've met and interacted with, but also just the support and the teaching of other people. It's how you learn. It's how you grow.
Yeah.
I did so much growing with just a lot of love and support from my family and my therapists and my doctors and people all my life. But I've done as much or more growing in the last decade since I found my community and other individuals with disabilities that I've connected with and learned from. Love yourself. I say this knowing how hard that is to do sometimes, especially when you're going through grief and loss and trauma and recovery. There's a lot of times when I've been angry and sad and upset, and I haven't loved myself the way that I needed to. In fact, I've done the opposite, kind of gone down on myself. But that was probably the last thing I should have been doing, and the last thing I deserved even, because no one really deserves to get down on yourself, especially for not doing anything more than just living life, trying to adapt to your circumstances. But remembering to love yourself, to do little things to reward yourself and make yourself feel good, remind you why you're working so hard, and set healthy, realistic goals for yourself. You can move the goalpost once you achieve those goals, but having healthy, realistic ones, I think, is super, super important early on. And it can be as simple as, for me, it was like picking up an almond, picking up a pistachio nut, feeding myself for the first time, getting a glass of water myself for the first time. And I was like, after having the cup was set up on the counter for me, in my spot where my wheelchair could get to real easy. Very attainable, easy, simple things. But once I did those little things, it was a lot easier for me to move the goalpost further down the road, and to work on more serious goals, and ones that are just take more time, effort to attain. Smile, baby. Get outside every day if you can, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Breathing fresh air and sun on your skin. There's nothing that replaces it. It can be hard, but I think that's part of staying healthy and keeping yourself healthy too, is even if it's just to get outside for 10 or 15 minutes, going through the process of getting in your chair and getting up and moving your body. Even if it's just to go sit in the sunshine. And the sun's not going to shine every day. I still encourage you to go outside, even if it's a little chilly and cold, get some fresh air. But those things are really important for me. They help keep me healthy. They help keep me moving forward. I try to smile. I don't feel like smiling every day. Sometimes I'll put the smile on my face and I'll wear it, even though I don't feel like it. But then next thing you know, I've kind of forgotten that I'm in a crappy mood, and I'm not working to put the smile on my face. I'm just wearing it, and I'm not thinking about it. I think these are all conscious things that we have the ability to do. And I mean, it is through conscious effort that we do them and decide them. Even recently, I've been kind of going through some depression, some difficult mental health stuff, stuff that really never goes away, but is more in focus sometimes than others. I work really hard to maintain a positive disposition, even though it's not easy all the time. I do work hard to smile, put that smile on my face even when I don't feel it, because I just am committed to sharing love and positivity. And I don't want to spoil somebody else's mood or day through my bad attitude. So, and it costs nothing to smile at another human being. It literally costs nothing except for the effort of a few muscles in your cheeks. And it's the easiest thing to do. And that's what I try to do all the time. Even at myself in the mirror, most of the time, I'm the one who's trying to smile at myself. And it's just important. It's important for me. It's been important for me to maintain my focus and my love and my positive feelings and my happiness, is to really work hard at it. And that's what I do. And I encourage everybody else to.
Well, you put a smile on our face today, and hopefully we put a smile on your face.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You guys did. The minute I saw you, Doug. Same with you, Eric. The minute I saw both your beautiful faces, heard your awesome voices, put a huge, huge smile on my face that I've been able to wipe off. And I'm going to carry that with me for the whole rest of the day.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I really appreciate it. I know it took a little while to get here, Doug.
Nah, it's all right.
Your patience. And I'm really thankful and appreciative of you for thinking of me, for one.
Yeah.
And then bringing me on. I just really appreciate it.
Well, at some point we're going to have to get maybe you and Eric together to do a what do you call it? Like a comic show or a superhero show. You guys can do the deep dive into that.
Oh, if you want
Eric's there.
If you want to talk some DC or some Marvel, I'm your guy.
I know nothing, so I'll just sit back and I'll engineer for you guys, and you guys can have at it.
That sounds great.
So before I let you go, tell everybody where they can, find Live to Roll, where they can find your gaming show, when, and if you have any social media you want to share.
It is all on Live to Roll. I exist through Live to Roll. If you guys haven't gone and checked us out on YouTube, the name of the channel is just Live to Roll, LiveToroll. Type it in, should pop up. I game every Wednesday at 5 p.m. On the Live to Roll channel. I am a part of the Tuesday show. Nearly every Tuesday. I have an MRI this afternoon. I hope I make it back in time. But nearly every show on Live to Roll every Tuesday at 3:30. Sometimes you catch me on Rolling Over the Hill or just a random live that we do. But that's where I exist. I used to have social media, Doug. I don't anymore. I got rid of my Instagram. I got rid of my Facebook. I got certain feelings about social media. And it was just a personal decision I made. You can email me, Tom, Tom, at livetoroll.org. If you go to any of our recent lives, my email is listed on there as well, but also the Live to Roll Instagram. I don't have like a personal social, but I am fully accessible to anybody and everybody, seriously, anybody, to share my phone number, to meet up in person, to talk and hang out, whether you're just looking for a friend or some information on quadriplegic living, or anything else that I know and talk about from time to time. I'm here to talk.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate you coming on and joining us on Walk and Roll Live. Eric, got any final thoughts?
Always remember, buddy, always say yes when life says no. Your disability does not define you by no means. It's just a shadow in your spotlight.
That's it, baby. I love that. I really, really love that. I am a yes man. I try to say yes to everything that life presents to me. And I love that little analogy. Your disability is just a little shadow in your spotlight. I like that. I might take that. I appreciate the red light that you are, Eric, because you are. I'm excited to talk in the future about some more nerdy stuff. Maybe even have you on do a little gaming with me, since you say you're a Smash Bros. Player. And Doug, you're incredible. Thank you so much for being the awesome engineer you are and making us sound good and the magic happen. But for also
Walk and roll live.
Tuned in to Walk and Roll Live podcast. Such a refreshing perspective on life and disability. Love it.
Every episode brings a new story that's both inspiring and eye-opening. Can't get enough.
The hosts make you feel like you're part of a genuine conversation. Walk and Roll Live is my weekly dose of positivity.
Walk and Roll Live is a game changer. It's not just about disabilities. It's about embracing life's challenges with a smile. Highly recommend.
My go-to podcast for real, unfiltered conversations. It's like having a cup of coffee with friends who share incredible stories.
Walk and roll live.
Welcome to Walk and Roll Live with Doug Vincent and Eric Aguilar. And they're so happy for your life. And they're so fine. Welcome to Walk and Roll Live with Doug Vincent and Eric Aguilar.
Yo, man, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. I am Eric Aguilar along with my buddy Doug.
All right, looking forward. Any events coming up that you know of that you want to tell us about? I know you're involved with SS. What is it? Help me out.
The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary?
No, it's Southern California, SCDD, Southern California Disabilities.
Developmental Disabilities.
Yes, that's it. So anything coming up with them? Do they have any events or anything?
To train new instructors with disabilities like you and me to help teach the emergency preparedness courses on Zoom for the times that I might not be able to do it. I'm looking to pass this on to new people as we go on in time because, there could be times where I want to go on vacation or can't do it for whatever the reason. I want to expand the program.
Well, we want to do something here, too. We want to have you give a presentation and have a special episode of Walk and Roll Live. Some events coming up. Angel City Sports has their Angel City Games coming up June 28th and 29th in Los Angeles. Triumph Foundation Gala is coming up on July 12th. Just go to their websites, which are on our website, on our resources page. If you want to look there, Angel City and also Triumph Foundation. Also, Triumph Foundation grant applications are being taken now, and Possibilities grants are also open for submission. So that's educational equipment, any kind of thing like that you need. Look into it on their page, Possibilities. Again, it's on our resources page, and you can find out all the criteria and what you need to put in an application. Same goes for Triumph Foundation, I'm sure. So let us know if you'd like to be on the show or have a good idea for a guest. Tom was a good one today, right?
Oh yeah, I had a fun time.
Yeah, I think you found a kindred spirit there in some of the comic book movies and things like that, right?
Yeah, the gaming knowledge was my favorite part of the show.
Yeah. Oh, good. So maybe you can join him for a game one time.
All I can say is game on.
Game on. And if you're looking for resources pertaining to your disability, we have a resource page on the website. Like I say, walkandrolllive.com. If you don't find resources for your particular disability, let us know and we'll track it down. Being at the IEDC, got a lot of information and added a lot of new websites to our resource page. So check that out. All right. Any last thing that you'd like to say as we wrap it up for today, Eric?
I'm Eric Aguilar along with my buddy Doug. We will see you next time, guys. Take care.
Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, with Eric Aguilar from the Aguilar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories, Life Limitless.
Walk and roll life. Life's the best. Walk and roll life. Life limitless.
In a world where stories often go untold, there's a place where voices shine like gold. Walk and roll life, we're paving the way for unity and love each and every day. Through the whispers of our pain we find our strength. In the echoes of our laughter we go to great land, sharing narratives that heal and inspire, building bridges, lifting voices higher. Walk and roll life, where hearts unite. In every story shared we find our light, empowerment and hope we spread worldwide. Walk and roll life, we stand with pride. From the silent battles to the triumphs grand, we celebrate each battles of life we fight our way. Walk and roll light shining every day. In the bond we share we'll always strive. Together we walk and roll and thrive.